So on a marketplace page, we're not really allowed to name drop. We can't say Nintendo, we can't say Mario Odyssey, we can't say Zelda Breath of the Wild. But when I look at the character Hilbert and think about what game he belongs in, I'd say it's something closer to Mario Odyssey than in another adventure game like maybe Uncharted. So Zelda and Mario very commonly have interchangeable systems. The core movement setup in Zelda is the same as Mario. Mario has a bit extra on the top, and they definitely use different movement settings to get different results, but they turn in a circle and they pivot on the spot to change direction, plus a few other things. So I've got two folders open. I have the Hilbert project, and I have my Epic Games directory. I'm going to come into 426, Engine, Plugins, Marketplace, and I'm going to copy MoveIt. I'm going to make a new folder called Plugins, and just paste MoveIt in here. So now it's a project plugin and not an engine plugin. I'm going to open that up. You'll also notice I have the wiki for MoveIt already open and ready to go. So MoveIt will be enabled by default now that it's a project plugin. And now we want to grab the input file from the wiki, so save link as, and in the config folder right in here, just going to overwrite that one. Oops, that made it a new version. Let me just rename that so it uses the MoveIt version. So usually when I make a new character, I will start from something like BP MoveIt character. That is a good starting point. So we're just going to copy this. Sorry, let me open the blueprint there. I'm going to copy it into there. Copy here. We'll just say BP character. We'll use this game mode. We'll have this use our new character. So I don't need the touch functionality. It's just in the way. Let's get rid of it. We've got a movement component here. You know, we'll just use the default for now. That will do us. We have a camera with a very wide field of view. We're just going to get rid of that and the camera. The spring arm and the camera, we're getting rid of those. Now we're going to add another spring arm, but it will be the MI spring arm. And we're going to add a camera to that. So let's change this mesh to Hilbert. Let's reset these materials so they're correct. Yes. Okay. Now if I compile and save and play in a new window, I have a character that can basically do this. We need to enable use pawn control rotation. Here we go, play again. And now we can move the camera normally. So what happens in Mario? Let's jump. Camera goes up, character goes up. Well, the camera is attached to the character, so why wouldn't it? But in Mario, it doesn't. We have this option called static jump. I'm going to disable it, and it's still going to do the same thing. It's because it needs to know when we jump. So we take the spring arm. If you hold control and drag anything, it will be a getter. You hold alt and drag, it will be a setter. It won't even ask. Okay, so from here, we've got, well, we can see all the functions. We're going to move the camera. We've got the functions and we've got all the settings. There's a lot of settings. So we need on character jump, on character landed. It needs to know when these things happen so that it can process them properly. Fortunately, character itself is an on jumped event that we can just plug in. Now it knows, like magic. It also has on landed, like magic. Now, if our spring arm has no lag and we have a lag speed of 0, anytime it lands, well, first, let's see this working. We can jump and it doesn't move. Fantastic. So let me show you the lag problem. When we land, it snaps. But what if I set Z lag speed to 10? Do the same thing. And now we have a smooth transition. If I set this back to 0, it just uses a default, and the default is don't lag. But having a bit of camera lag and rotation speed is never a bad thing. And these are 10, 20, 200, these are adequate values, I think. Gives us a nice feeling to our camera movement. So set that back to 0. Perhaps it is still snapping a little. Let's set that for 10 just to make sure. Here we are, nice and smooth. Been a while since I designed this, if you can't tell. What else does it do? This map is a bit cramped. For a game like Mario moves fast. A video frame analysis I did showed that he moves at 1024 centimeters per second velocity. That is incredibly fast by Unreal standards. And here's a nice big world to build in dev map content folder. If you go edit, editor preferences, loading and saving, load level at startup to last opened, and whatever level you last opened is the one that opens when you load the editor. So now that, and you do have to open the map again after changing that setting, or it won't care what map you currently have opened. So we're just going to do, I don't know, 1,000, and set it to stationary because I can't be bothered building lighting when I don't realistically need to. What else can we change in here? I like using live coding, but this is a blueprint example, so I don't need it. Loading and saving, we've sorted that out. Okay, anything else I change there, I do for C++, and we're doing blueprint, so that's fine. If we apply, we have our character, but you know, he's not moving. He's moving like he's in a shooter. That's no good to us. Let's open this up. Click this big button here, the bottom one, orient to movement with cycle. Cycle is that way that he runs in a circle. See this? I can turn on the spot if I'm going slow, but if I'm going fast and I try to turn, it goes in a circle. I can still turn on the spot. And there's a few other things we're missing. For one thing, he's moving really slow. So what did I say, 1024? That's going to be blazingly fast by comparison. And just like Mario, it takes ages to get up to speed. Gotta tell you, when I first started playing Mario, I did not grow up with it, so I wasn't used to that type of movement. It's really unique, and I hated it. And then I kept playing it, and then I fell in love with it. It's the strangest thing. Okay, so now we've got him only somewhat moving around like Mario. When he changes directions, I mean, it's not quite right. So we come to the character movement. We open pivot. So pivot is based on velocity. That's fine if you're making like Battlefield, but we're making a platformer. We're going to do acceleration, which is input. So now we get up to speed of it, change direction. Pivoting should start feeling a little better. Also, his rotation is really unnaturally slow. So you can just type rotation. Let's set that to 1024. Give that a go. Yeah, it's a bit more like it. So this cycled movement has some settings as well. Funny that. I like making lots of settings. So the rotation rate. If I set this to 50, yeah, it's this massive circle because the rates are low. 265 is a battle-tested value. It's a good value. At 300, the circle is just so small you almost don't notice it. It just feels like something's wrong. It doesn't feel like a feature. So cycle pivot changes direction. The relevance here is, let's say I want to change direction. So that's off. You can't just do it on the spot. Can't pivot to change its direction. And if you were making the bike from, say, Pokemon Sword and Shield, that would be a good start. Good way to start doing that. Okay, so what else do we have? Let's go back to the camera. When Mario moves sideways, like this, the camera actually turns and he turns. So you just go enable orbit. Keep in mind if you have multiple cameras, this will affect every camera. So if you change camera, you need to take this and disable orbit manually. So just using the default settings, what we already get, notice he's turning. Everything's turning. The whole world's turning. And there's still a bit of turning when moving forward, but not as much. But here's a real kicker: when you move backwards, there's no turning. And you don't really want turning when you're moving towards the camera. It doesn't feel right. But you can have it if you want it. But when moving backward, it will give it to you. And we've scaled by move forward input, meaning the more input we have for moving forward, the less it will orbit. I like my default values, so I'm going to keep them. But you can play with these all you want to get the feel you want for the orbiting of the camera. You can change the interpolation rate with or without input. So when you let go of the movement button, you could have it slowly settle in or really snap. What else? So on Mario, if I do this, fine. But if I do this, it zooms in. The only reason it zooms in is because it's colliding with the ground. If the camera didn't collide with the ground, it would not zoom in. So if I zoom, I can go curve. And now look. See that? And that's what Mario does. So now we got the jumping, we got that. The only thing is, with Mario, if we jumped in with this close, it would move up. MoveIt doesn't have that functionality. Basically, you can change how this works if you are that zoomed in, if you want to. So now we've got the cycled rotation, we've got that pivoting, although that pivoting doesn't look right, but we're going to wait till we have some animations in there to really tweak it. Got the jumping, we've got the orbiting. And the other thing is the camera's not quite right. You notice we have a field of view of 90. 90 is a bit low for a shooter, but it's really high for a platformer. A real world field of view is more like 60, but now we're really close to them. So let's change that target arm length, because this curve is here, it's a multiplier. So let's just go try 800. Now, we're pretty far away from Hilbert when we're really up there. And the ground puts us really close at an unnatural rate. So we want to say the negative 45 is when we're above them, I believe. So let's just put this to 3 and see what happens. It just really easily gets in there. And it only looks wrong because our target on length is so high. That is actually excessive. 2.4, let's give that a go. That will do. For the tutorial it will do. If I was making a game, I would tweak that for a very long time and make sure it felt absolutely right. The other thing is, I'm not sure if I want to be able to get quite that far under him. So let me just take the camera manager and this view pitch max. Let me just check. I'll set it to 0. That's as far as I can go. It doesn't need to be 0 because you want to be able to look up, right? So maybe 15 and still look up, and the whole ground collision thing isn't much of an issue anymore. You can really get a good look at them. Okay. So next on the list is to set them up to work with MoveIt. Remember, I've got the wiki here. So we've done this. We've chosen and duplicated the base character. We need to add bones and sockets. Open up Hilbert skeleton. Okay. So yeah, let's upper arm to lower arm, virtual bone. Upper arm, lower arm, virtual bone. Make sure you don't accidentally select the wrong one. Why do I have the hand here? Let's get rid of that. Okay, so he already has virtual bones for some reason, but he does, so they're done. Now, if we come to the head, we can go add socket, I, underscore level. And all I'm doing is what it tells you to do here. See, you don't even have to follow me, you can follow the wiki. That's roughly where his eyes are. And I've already got the footstep sockets on them. So we'll save that. Okay. So if you have a different character, you can follow this guide to add IK bones if you don't have them. It's this one here. So retargeting preparation. You don't want to miss these steps. You got options, show retargeting. So a lot of this has already been set up. But normally what I do is I just go all of them to skeleton, blanket, change, and all of these to animation. So the IK bones are always animation. Okay. So these eyes, they will be animation. The helmet, the visor, that's all animation. I'm going to do it on the head, just change it all to animation and then set the head back to skeleton on its own. Sword is animation. So animation retargeting tells us to make a new folder. I'm just going to call this MoveIt. We come to the content, AB MoveIt retarget, duplicating retarget. Oh, Hilbert is not there, and that's because I missed a step. Open Hilbert back up, and we need to go MoveIt. Because I use the correct naming convention, it's all filled in for us. Save that. And back again to AB MoveIt, duplicate. SKL Hilbert. His pose is like it's never going to be that great, I'll be honest. So if we look at the animation names, move it idle. I don't want an entire other set of animations with the same name. I want to be able to tell them apart. So we're going to change MoveIt to just MoveIt, MoveIt. And it's important you remember what you put here. You'll see why in a moment. So we now have all these animations. Come to the MoveIt content folder, MoveIt retarget sorter, right click, run editor utility widget. This is why we need to remember them. We replace MoveIt, case sensitive, MoveIt Hilbert. And the location of the animations is just here in the human folder. So now we take everything here and auto sort retargeted animations, and we get that nice clean folder hierarchy. So I've never liked how retargeting just splatters them all into a single folder and that's done. Okay, so now we can take our character. I come to blueprints, BP character, mesh, AB, where are we? MoveIt Hilbert. Now we've got the MoveIt animations and they probably will not suit them. Especially not at the speed he's moving at. No. Yeah, he looks super weird, but the animation's retargeted properly because I included proper retargeting pose. So we've got some work to do, put it that way. Let's open this animation blueprint. Now, these are just here so new users know they're here. We need these. No, we don't. I don't believe so. Because there is no turn and place system in this type of game. I mean, you could tell your character to turn based on some sort of event, like if they're going to press a switch, but I'm not going that far, so I'm just going to remove the system altogether. So let's open the animation graph. We don't need aim offsets for this type of game. Let's remove that. I mean, if you're making a game with multiple types of movement, then hey, fair enough, keep it. Now, where did that aim offset go? Aim offset cache. But before I delete it, it uses the locomotion cache. I mean, at this point I might as well just do that, right? Compile. So he's back to normal. Do I need custom weapon poses? Just thinking about what I can take out to simplify the system. Well, Zelda can slide on his shield. That's technically floor sliding. You could change to animations for sliding on Hilbert's shield. I do not think I will be setting that up. So, let's just see. It's got a pretty complex system for a lot of stuff because animation just isn't all that simple. But if I come to here and just type Hilbert, oh, that's not good to us. We want to start using the animations that come with Hilbert now because they actually suit him. So, the jump animation. Jump start. Make sure it does not loop. By default, it does. And all it's going to do is make sure that the animation's entered, then it's going to go into falling. So if it loops, it's not going to work right. Falling and falling too long. We don't really have anything for this. Do we have a distance to the ground? Nope. Okay. Well, now we can use the falling. But we do want to change the animation. Distance to land location. So if we come to blend spaces and we go full, use that. We don't need the speed. That's fine. Falling to long. We don't have any such thing. Off ledge. What's this look like? It's just them stepping off a ledge. Don't have any ledges, but let's see if we can get one in here. There's a ledge for them to walk. So yeah, it's a nice little effect, so we'll keep that. Now the land. There's a different land for sprinting, but MoveIt doesn't have sprint. Landing speed, falling duration. We don't need that. We just put the land animation in and make sure it does not look. So let's see what it looks like now. I'd say it looks quite alright. So does your game have crouching? Maybe, maybe not, but if so, you'll want to update the crouch animations. My game, I'm just going to say doesn't have crouching just for the hell of it, just because it's a tutorial and we need to complete the tutorial at some point. Now, pivot. This is where it gets fun. Let's just grab that skid. Blend space, skid. And we would like a stop speed, get stopping speed. Put that in there. Compile. Okay. Now we change directions. Kinda does it. That's a bit weird. Okay. One thing I want to do is just really get that move animation in. Move. Oh goodness. Okay, we do not have sprinting. And we have no backward movement because it's an adventure game. So let's take BS move. And if I open this up, we have a value of 0 and 1152, which is actually faster than you can go. But they're both just playing the same run animation, so it doesn't really matter. It's just if you had that functionality, then you have a source of it as well. So we go play run. At least now it's using a slightly better run animation. But we're mixing realistic features with a really cartoony character and it's showing. So we come to the animation graph. We've got things we don't need. First of all, there is no strafing. Let's take that out. It won't do anything anyway because there is no strafing. Maybe we can even take the gate out. So that gate was giving us artificial starts and stops. So if we plug it back in, that's why he does that little tippy tap, which frankly just looks weird. With Mario, he does this exertion of sheer effort before moving fast. And we don't have an animation for that, which is fine. But we could change a few things like the minimum gate. We could just say is a higher value. So it actually doesn't look quite so weird. The real issue here is that our acceleration is very low and we don't have an animation that it represents the exertion that he places into accelerating. We go blueprints, character, and go character movement, and we'll just give him a lot of acceleration so he doesn't have to deal with it. It would be fun to make an animation that does it though. Where are we? Max acceleration, 1.4. Try that. There we are. It's more like it. It really comes to sliding stop on that one. So I'm suspecting that the animation isn't quite lining up, meaning he's running faster than the animation. So if I come back into here, base, stand, movement, get there eventually, move, forward. We can expose the play rate. Well, we don't really need to expose it, but let's say 1.4 as his run speeder, or his run animation speed. So now he looks a little bit more successive. 1, 2. So it's matching his movement speed better. One thing we really need is a particle effect for his running. So we're getting a lot of the Mario functionality already. And here's something else MoveIt does. If you tap jump right before landing, he'll still jump. And it feels really responsive in a platformer. And that is actually quite a pain to build. So I don't know if you can hear my key, but I'm pressing it while he's still in the air. And you really only have a few milliseconds. The other thing is Coyote time. This is a bit low to show it, but here we are. I jumped right after I had already technically fallen, and Unreal normally wouldn't let you jump. That's called Coyote time. This here, which I accidentally called Coyote time, is something I've made, and I just call it Bunny time just to fit the theme. So that's actually the majority of the movement features in Mario and Zelda already. Zelda doesn't have the orbiting camera, it doesn't have the ludicrous movement speed, and it doesn't have these kinds of it has when he stops or when he pivots, it's much lighter. So I'm going to come back into the skidding here. Maybe take out the stuff that's made for realistic games while I'm here. Also the stop. There's no backward. Let's just get rid of that. So the stop is also just going to use the skid. And that's a mistake we may have made, is when we did the pivoting, we used the stopping speed. Is there a pivot speed? No. You just use the actual speed. Get speed. Let me think. Get raw speed is actually what we want for this. Because these blend spaces, yeah, they don't use a 0 to 1 range. Okay. So we'll try that out. So we start moving and we stop. It plays the skid. Change direction, it plays the skid. It'd be nicer to have a animation that doesn't make him lean forward, that makes him lean backwards instead. So let's go into the idle, because we never actually updated that animation. And we can come into the movement, idle, idle. So we can get rid of the turning logic because he doesn't have a turn in place. It's got a locomotion, is it? I believe so. Grab that idle, plug that in instead. Okay, now he's got the Hilbert idle, and that goes together quite nicely. Yeah, I like that. And what else can we do? So watch when he pivots. He loses all his speed and has to get it back again. So if we come to the character, movement, into pivot, there is a bonus acceleration on end. Let's try 400. So now after he's done pivoting, he gets a bonus acceleration and he can keep up his speed a lot easier. And it's more Mario-esque, so I'm going to keep that. The other thing is braking. Needs to stop sooner, especially in a platform when you don't want your character to kind of like go and slide off the edge. Another thing we can do over here, and doesn't really matter for a tutorial, but for you, you're like, there's no sprinting. I don't have crouching, maybe you do, but I've removed what I'm not using. The thing is, I believe there's a cycle setting. Oh, there isn't. Sorry. Now, let's get the idle board and the idle blink. Actually, before that, one thing Mario does, and we're not going to see anything useful in this map, but he's got a Hilbert, the overview map, no, the tutorial map, has a circular surface, and there's a reason behind this. I'm going to go functions override, and we're going to go get orient to floor settings and disconnect the parent. And we're going to go make orient to floor settings. And just with the defaults, let's go run on a circular surface. See, now he's orienting to that surface. How's that? He jumps, comes back straight. So what Mario does is, if he's moving, back around like this, he will orient to the surface he's on. But if he's standing still, he stops. So I'm just going to say, you can have two of these. One with zeros. And we will go get character movement. Get max speed. And we're going to interpolate between, well actually we don't need a second one, my bad. We just need, for the orient angle multiplier, we need a, let me think. Use alert. And we can go normalize to range. And the maximum is actually the max speed. Of course, the minimum is 0. We can, let me see. Okay, so let's say we can just get velocity, plant. We can put this in here. I guess we could use this normalized range as the orient angle multiplier. So it's a bit hard with the speed being as high as it is. I'm just going to tone that down really quickly. Back to the default for a second. So notice how he stands up straight, but when you move, he orients to the surface. And that's Mario behavior. Zelda does not do that to my knowledge. So that's another thing out of the way. Mario also moves faster when he's going downhill. So if we take a look at slope settings, we can give him a downhill speed multiplier. Nope, not meant to move that. Sorry, I'll just hit undo. Downhill speed multiplier. Let's open this up so we can see. Okay, so he gets faster when he goes downhill. We're gonna just make it a 2. The only thing we're not doing though is we're not giving him a higher max speed when he goes downhill. And you need to use C++ to do that, so we're going to just ignore that functionality for now. But normally that is something you should consider doing. So you don't really see it here because it's too small. Oh, there are ramps. In my death, I have found ramps. And he definitely moves faster because I couldn't even get him to stop. So that's great. Now, what else were we going to do? We're going to bring over the board and the blink logic because we want that. Let's see, where was it? Character? Here we are. Yep, character. So let's see. For the do blink function, we're going to just copy all that out into here. We're going to make a function called do blink. Paste it. And we're going to create, hold on. Which of these are local? None. So we just create all of these. And now we have that function, but we need the values in here. Min blink time 1.3 to 1.6. Got to compile. 1.6. Okay, and these all just default to 0, of course. What else? Update blink. Okay, well that one's easy. So your functions update blink. File save, and then in the event graph, we want to go update animation. But is there something I have exposed by chance to check validity and movement? I don't believe so. So what we're going to do is just make sure there's an actual delta time. And we're just going to go update blink. And you can see it's calling do blink, which isn't doing anything because we don't have that set up yet. Okay, so back in the example, in the blinking, now we need to get to the animation graph. So it cramped in here. Now we've got this here. So we're going to grab that. And we're just going to take all of it. And we can have the blink happen as basically the last thing because it doesn't matter. We can blink over the top of anything else. Don't need to cache. Okay. And we've got the blinking state machine here. Now if I compile. Let's have a quick look. Does he blink? He does not blink. see. So I'm just going to do a quick debug because he should be blinking, but he isn't. So blinking is true. That's why. So in the example, go back to the event graph, go anim notify for onFinish blink, and we will have that notify because we copied and pasted it. Oh, we've got 2 of them. Great. It just sets blinking to false. So let's give that a go. Yeah, now he blinks. Look at that. We have the blinking in, but the really hard one is the idle. So let's just start by going into the animation state. Let's see. Animation state. Base, locomotion standing, idle. Okay, and we're going to take, we'll take his whole idle state machine. We'll come in here. Disconnect that one, put on this one. So that's like very much the basis. So create this variable, idle board. So these are all effectively just flags we use so that we don't get we don't get rid of the multi-threading effectively. Yeah, that's basically all we're doing there. So back to the Hilbert example. Okay, we've got too much stuff open and it's really getting in the way. So update board flags. It's an easy one. Copy all that. Update board flags. We've just made these. So we need the idle board in them. Compile that, and in the event graph, we're also going to want to call update board flags. Give it a bit of room because I think there's another one. Yeah, update idle board. Oh, this is the big one. This is the real logic. Oh, okay. We go create matching function and it makes us a function for us. Cool. Where's the entry here? Am I somehow moving it? No, there it is. Update idle board. Great. Take all of these, move them into a slightly saner position. Now, it's not idle, it's pure. I'm going to start with that. Copy and paste. We'll take MoveIt values as jumping to replace jumping. And it's crouching. What is crouched? Reset board state. Okay. Last input time. Let me just check. Okay. So we've got some local variables. Was idle board. So when we get to that, that one's a local. Oh, and this override needs to be 255. And while we're that, what are we missing? Get idle board time. And we had that at 5 seconds, but that's really just to show it off. Now this one here is a bit interesting. So we've got this that was sort animation, and its index is 2. And that's basically how long it lasts. After 5 seconds it ends it. So if I go to the same one here, settings. And it's for animations that have an entry transition rather than just, well, if he stretches, but he has to actually sit down and then play a sit loop, and that's how it handles that. What else are we missing? Did we put it in the event graph? No, we did not. Good thing we left room. Yeah, let's see, idle board time, 5, yeah. Seems like he's intent on just constantly being bored now. Okay, so one of the retarget settings is wrong. Go to Hilbert, options. I think this one, oh, the root is animation, palace is either animation or animation scaled. We will see in a second. Yeah, there we go. So we'll let him finish his animation and we've set it to 5. So now he's just really bored. Played 2 in a row. Okay, so we haven't set up everything correctly. And that's because there is a notify. Let notify left board idle. Set board. Set reset board state to true. Okay. So if we go play. The stretch. He's back to idle again this time. See what happens when he comes out of sitting. Okay, he's working as you'd expect. And this movement is actually starting to feel really good. Definitely Mario-esque. He probably even have the ducking as well, and he's just a bit big. Yeah, he's ducking, but his physical size is a lot smaller than the capsule, so it doesn't look quite right. Yeah. Okay. So if I was going to make a complete game with this system, what I would do is I'd make a physical exertion animation and put that acceleration back. I'd do a better skid animation. So here's the thing, if I'm looking left, if I tap right, he did a partial turn, partial turn, partial turn. If I hold left, hold right, he fully turns. What I'd do is, if he isn't moving the last direction it was pressed, he would just keep rotating to that direction. But that's something you do in the physics rotation loop in CMC, which is C++ code. You could do it in Blueprint for a single player game. And I would add sound effects, pop, and a nice landing effect. We only have the footstep effects due to MoveIt's procedural animation, and I would disable that. and I would make that cloud puff that follows behind Mario when he runs. The other thing is with the orbiting, you notice he gets closer to the camera, but the camera should be ahead of him. He should be well in view of where he's going. So I'd actually make the orbit more excessive than the character, so the camera's ahead of him. He should be, so he's off center, but he should be off center in the opposite direction, is what I'm trying to say. I think with those changes, you would have a very convincing Mario clone. In fact, not even a clone, just the same movement mechanics for your game. Who needs a clone when you can make something better, right? Thank you for watching.